Hi, I'm Fiona, 30 years old, a stay-at-home mom to two wonderful kids. Life's been smooth mostly, but lately things have been rocky with my husband. And the root of it all? His mom. You know how some moms hold a special place in their sons' hearts, right? Well, sometimes it feels like she's wedged herself a little too deep into his. My husband? Classic mama's boy. And that's not always easy to handle. Our argument that day started innocently enough. Fiona, can you come here for a minute? Sure, what's up? I need to talk to you. Please sit down. His tone, calm but serious. My stomach tightened. Is everything all right? Yeah, everything's fine, he said, waving off my concern. I just wanted to talk about cutting back on some of our spending at home. That caught me off guard. Is everything all right with your job? Work's fine. Don't worry about that, he replied, but something in his eyes told me otherwise. I've just decided we need to put more money towards something important, so we'll have to cut back elsewhere. Important? I raised an eyebrow. Okay, what's this new expense? He took a deep breath, like he already knew I wouldn't like what was coming. I'm going to start giving Mom some money every month. It won't be a lot, but she's getting older. She needs some extra cash. I stared at him, confused. That didn't sit right with me. Rita, my mother-in-law, had a thriving business. She was a widow, sure, but with her kids all moved out, she wasn't exactly scraping by. I told him exactly that, but he brushed off my concerns. How much are we talking about? I pressed. Don't worry about it. Excuse me? Don't worry about it? I'm the one managing our household finances. I had to know. How much? I asked again, firmer this time. He sighed. $4,000 every month. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. 4,000? A month? That wasn't just a little help. That was a fortune. Most people didn't even earn that in a month. And he wanted to hand it over. For what? Nothing. I tried to reason with him, to explain how absurd this was, but he stood his ground, wouldn't budge an inch. The tension between us boiled over. That night, we didn't just argue. We ended up sleeping in separate beds. Sure, we were financially comfortable, but I've always been smart with our money, careful not to waste it. And this? This felt like flushing it down the drain. $48,000 a year. Gone. Money that could have gone toward our kids' college funds, their savings, health insurance, heck, even to charity, to people who actually needed it. I laid it all out for him, clear as day. But he wouldn't hear it. 5 months went by. He kept sending the money, and to make matters worse, he insisted I be the one to send it. Like he was punishing me. Like he was making a point. His mom would always come first. But his stubbornness wouldn't hold forever. Because soon enough, I stumbled upon something that changed everything. It all started when Rita visited us 3 months after the money had started flowing. Hello, Fiona. How's my favorite daughter-in-law? She greeted me, her voice sugary sweet. I'm doing well, thank you. How about you? I replied politely. Oh, I've been feeling so much better ever since Adam started sending me money, she said with a dramatic sigh. I was struggling a bit before, you know. The business wasn't doing as well as I hoped, but I didn't want to ask for help. I guess Adam just sensed it. That special mother-son connection, you know. She wiped at her eyes, sniffling. And I felt awful. How could I have doubted her? I'd assumed she was fine, but clearly she wasn't. As her tears flowed, I comforted her, my guilt heavy. I've never had a problem sharing money with those who truly need it. And Rita? Well, I thought she clearly did. But then, something odd happened. After our little heart-to-heart, she started talking about future plans, luxury trips she wanted to take now that she had some extra cash. It didn't add up. If she was struggling, why talk about vacations? Whenever I looked puzzled, she'd backtrack, say she meant once her business picked up again. I brushed it off. Maybe I was reading too much into it. She said she needed the money after all. 2 more months passed. I kept sending her the money. She'd thank me profusely every time, insisting how much she needed it. I felt bad for doubting her before, guilty for arguing with Adam. But the strain started creeping into our lives. The tightened budget, the small sacrifices. It wasn't easy. Still, I adjusted. I cut back wherever I could, and we managed. Then, one night, everything shifted. I was cleaning out Adam's office when I saw it. A text from Rita. Curiosity tugged at me, and before I could think twice, I opened it. Hey Adam, hope you're doing well. Could you increase my monthly allowance? I want to enjoy some extra luxuries. My heart stopped. Luxuries? More money? She was already getting enough to cover the average American's monthly expenses, and here she was, asking for more. She was a healthy, capable 65-year-old woman, living alone. Why did she need extra for luxuries? It didn't make sense. And my sympathy? It was fading fast. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I had to dig deeper. Ignoring the email from her on Adam's computer, I started combing through our family finances. But nothing. No clear evidence of anything shady, so I decided to take a different approach. I picked up the phone. "Hi, Rita. Everything all right? Why are you calling so late?" she asked. "Hello, Rita. I hope everything's okay with you," I said sweetly. "Well, I'm managing, but honestly, it's been tough. Sometimes I struggle to afford even basic things like toiletries." "Oh dear, I'm really grateful to my son for helping me out," she replied quickly. I let the silence linger, then added, "Anyway, I was thinking, would you like to come over for tea tomorrow?" "Tea sounds wonderful. Thank you for inviting me," she chirped. "You know, things have been tight for me too. Sometimes I can't even afford tea," I said, letting the words hang in the air. "So it would be nice to have some with you." "Oh, it'll be my pleasure, Fiona. Just come over and we'll have a nice afternoon together." "All right then. See you soon. Bye-bye." I hung up, my mind spinning. The plan was in motion. The next day, Rita arrived with her usual charm, and we sat down for what would be a very revealing cup of tea. As we sipped our afternoon tea, the warmth of the cup in my hands did little to ease the tension simmering beneath the surface. Rita, with her practiced charm, chatted away about life's hardships, painting herself as the struggling widow. Then, with a polite smile, she excused herself to use the bathroom. This was my moment. My heart pounded in my chest as I glanced at her purse sitting on the chair beside me. Without hesitation, I reached over, my fingers trembling slightly as I opened it. There it was, her phone, unlocked. It felt almost too easy. I tapped on the banking app icon, bracing myself for the truth I was certain would confirm my suspicions. What I found, though, was far beyond anything I had imagined. The screen displayed her balance, and my eyes widened in disbelief. $1.6 million. I blinked, thinking maybe I'd read it wrong. I exited the app, reopened it, and stared again. But the numbers didn't change. Rita wasn't just comfortable, she was wealthy. My mind raced, confusion and anger swirling together. How could she? Why would she deceive us like this? But before I could make sense of it, something else caught my eye. A notification from one of her employees. "Hello, Rita. Please find attached the financial breakdown of last month's earnings. Just wanted to let you know it looks like we've made a big profit for the 4th month in a row. You're a fantastic businesswoman. I'm eager to hear your thoughts." Curiosity overpowered my initial shock. I opened the attachment and my jaw nearly dropped. The report detailed a monthly profit of $8,400. For a small business, that was impressive. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. I sat there stunned, the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. This woman had been siphoning money from our household, from her own grandchildren, not out of necessity, but out of greed. My hands trembled as I quickly erased any trace of my snooping and slid her phone back into her purse just in time to hear her footsteps approaching. Rita returned with a sweet smile, none the wiser. "Oh, Fiona, thank you again for the lovely tea," she said, settling back into her chair. "You know, as an old lady, it's tough to manage, especially when you're already struggling. Lately, things have been really hard for me, dear. I'm so grateful for you and your husband's help." She paused, her eyes softening as if she were about to confide something deeply personal. "Say, could I ask you for something, if it's not too much trouble?" I forced a smile, masking the fury bubbling inside me. "Of course, Rita. What do you need? We're just happy to help." Her next words were like gasoline on an already raging fire. "Well, I was wondering, is it possible for me to get a little more money? Maybe an increase to $6,000 a month?" It took every ounce of self-control not to leap across the table and confront her outright. I clenched my jaw, my voice steady but laced with sarcasm. "I understand your struggles, Rita. Since you're clearly going through such a tough time, it's not like you're a millionaire or anything." Her face froze. Just for a split second. It was subtle, but I saw it, the flicker of panic before she smoothed it over with a chuckle. "Oh no, of course not. If I were, I wouldn't be asking you, darling." I leaned back, watching her carefully. "Well, unfortunately, I don't think we can manage an extra $2,000. Her smile faded, her lips pressing into a thin line. Irritation flashed in her eyes before she quickly masked it with feigned understanding. "Oh, that's all right. No problem." She stood abruptly, gathering her things. "Well, I have to leave now. Let's catch up again soon." She left in a hurry, her usual grace replaced by something far more telling. Embarrassment. Watching her retreat, any sympathy I'd once felt for her vanished completely. She was a liar, a thief, and worse, she'd manipulated her own son to fund her lavish lifestyle. But I wasn't going to tell him just yet. No, Adam needed to see the truth for himself. After all the harsh words he'd thrown at me, after putting his mother on a pedestal and dismissing my concerns, he deserved to learn the hard way. It was a lesson he wouldn't forget. A couple of days later, it was time to send Rita her $4,000 allowance. The money sat in our account, but I made a decision. I wasn't sending it. Let her feel the sting of disappointment. Let her wonder why the money hadn't arrived. It didn't take long. Later that day, my phone buzzed. Adam. I answered, bracing myself. What's going on? His voice was sharp, accusing. What do you mean? I replied, playing dumb. Why are you upset? Don't play dumb, Fiona. I know what you're up to. Why haven't you sent Mom the allowance? I'm getting tired of your games. His words lit a fire in me. I'd held my tongue long enough. You won't believe what I found out, I said, my voice calm but firm. There's a reason behind what I'm doing. Listen, I understand you care about your mom, and I'm sorry you feel I don't appreciate that. But you need to hear me out. He cut me off, his words like daggers. You don't even earn a dime to have a say in how we spend my money. It's my money, and I'll decide what to do with it. So when I say send money, you do it. You're just a housewife. Remember that. His words shattered me. I stared at the phone, stunned by the cruelty in his voice. But that was it. The dam broke. You know what your problem is, Adam? You don't appreciate me. You think being a housewife and mom is easy? A breeze? Well, let's see how easy it is without me. I'm not sticking around to be treated like this. But before I go, check your mother's bank account. Don't bother calling me until you've done that. I hung up, my heart pounding, but for the first time in months, I felt free. Sometimes life throws challenges your way, not to break you, but to remind you it's time to stand up for yourself. I'd been giving my all, pouring every ounce of energy into this family, only for it to be dismissed, taken for granted. But not anymore. Let's see how Adam handles life without me, especially once he realizes his beloved mother is nothing more than a liar and a thief. I sent him the photos I'd taken of Rita's bank account during my little investigation. Each image was a slap of cold, hard truth. Then, without a second thought, I switched my phone to Do Not Disturb. I wasn't ready to face the fallout just yet. Packing was quick, mechanical. I stuffed clothes into bags for me and the kids, my mind racing but my hands steady. We checked into a nearby hotel, close enough to keep their school routine intact. When they asked why we weren't at home, I couldn't bear to burden their innocent hearts with the ugliness of the truth. The house is being fumigated, I told them, forcing a smile. Daddy's staying at another hotel. They accepted it, their trusting eyes believing every word. But inside, I was unraveling. I needed time, space, a moment to breathe, to heal them. Even with my phone on silent, I could see the messages piling up. Notifications from both Adam and Rita flashed across the screen like angry wasps buzzing at the edges of my mind. But I wasn't ready to swat them away. Not yet. That night, I focused on my children. We laughed, played games, and for a few precious hours, I let myself forget the storm waiting outside that hotel room door. Morning light crept through the curtains when my phone finally rang. I answered groggily. Hello, Miss Fiona. There's a man named Adam here to see you. We need to confirm if you know him for safety reasons. I hesitated for a beat, then sighed. Yes, I know him. He's my husband. You can send him up. Moments later, there was a knock. I opened the door to find Adam standing there, eyes red-rimmed, face strained. Without a word, he pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly it was like he feared I'd disappear if he let go. Oh my God, Fiona, he whispered, his voice cracking. I'm so sorry for everything. I saw the evidence you sent me. You were right not to give her any more money. Tears spilled from his eyes as he clung to me, the weight of his guilt pressing between us. I held him, feeling the tension in his body, the regret pouring out in waves. Finally, I guided him inside, closing the door behind us. Darling, I said softly, I'm glad you realized what was going on. But tell me, what happened after you saw the photos? Before he could answer, my phone buzzed again. Rita. I stared at the screen, debating whether to answer, but something inside me snapped. I pressed accept. Hello? Her voice, sharp and venomous, exploded through the speaker. How dare you invade my privacy like that? I could sue you, you know. Do you even need the money? How dare you try to ruin my reputation in front of my son? Her words were like poison, each sentence dripping with malice. But I stayed silent, letting her dig her own grave. It doesn't matter, she hissed. He loves me. He'll do whatever it takes to make me happy. You think he'll stop sending me money? Ha! You must be delusional. You think he'll listen to a mere housewife? You're sorely mistaken. I clenched my jaw, my grip tightening on the phone. Yes, I have money. I've always had money since my husband passed away, but I like to control Adam sometimes, remind him that Mommy comes first. Her voice wasn't even recognizable anymore. It was monstrous, filled with cruelty and a twisted sense of entitlement. Her yelling pierced through the room, waking the kids. I saw their sleepy, confused faces peeking from under the covers. "So you're not bothered at all?" I shot back, my voice low and shaking with fury. "Your selfishness has torn this family apart. You don't care that Adam and I have been fighting because of your lies. You don't even care that you've been stealing from your own son and grandchildren." She scoffed, a cruel laugh echoing in my ear. "Oh, come on. You two are headed for divorce anyway. I can't wait for that. They'll come home to me eventually. And as for those kids, well, I guess I don't really care." Adam's face paled. His eyes widened, and I saw something snap inside him. "Mom," he said, his voice hollow, filled with a depth of betrayal I'd never heard before. "That's incredibly cruel." There was a pause on the other end. Then, suddenly, her tone softened, dripping with false sweetness. "Adam, honey, listen, I didn't mean it like that." "Did you hear all of that, Adam?" I asked, meeting his eyes, daring him to ignore the truth any longer. His jaw tightened. "Nope, that won't work on me this time." His voice was firm, unwavering. "I've seen your true colors, and I've had enough. You've made the past few months hell for me and Fiona. How could you manipulate me like that?" "I'm your son." His voice cracked, the weight of realization finally crushing him. "What kind of evil has possessed you to do such a terrible thing? I can't believe I fell for your tricks. But Fiona, my wonderful wife, she saw through you all along. She knew something was wrong, and I shouted at her, disrespected her." He turned to me, his eyes glistening with fresh tears. "Not anymore. Fiona is my real family, not you. I never want to hear from you again." "Adam, wait." Her voice trembled now, desperate. "But I have no one. Maybe that's how it should be." Click. He ended the call. Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. But in Adam's eyes, I saw something new. Relief. The chains his mother had wrapped around him his entire life were finally broken. The burden had been lifted. For the rest of the day, Adam couldn't stop apologizing. To me, to the kids. His guilt poured out in waves, but so did his love. He admitted he couldn't survive even a single night without us. He'd realized his mistakes, and he promised, swore, never to repeat them. And as for his mother, he meant every word when he said he didn't want to hear from her again. She kept trying to call, but he declined each time, letting her desperation ring out into the void. She'd made her bed. Now she had to lie in it.